Hello and welcome. This is Brandon Waddell, Charter Market Technician, and I'm going to take a look at some of the more popular cryptocurrencies. And we'll start off with the granddaddy of them all, the Bitcoin. As you can see on the weekly chart of Bitcoin, we had a massive divergence on the weekly chart and have been collapsing in price ever since. This means that basically, as we tried to go higher, the momentum just wasn't there to sustain that move. And we're on the cusp of going below 40 on the RSI. That'll be pretty critical because if we do go below 40 on the RSI, then technically you're in a full blown bearish trend. So we don't have, well, I guess you can consider maybe high, low, lower high. If we make the lower low on the weekly, that'd probably be concurrent with that break below 40 on the RSI and should send the price of Bitcoin all the way down to under 20,000. Believe it or not, that'd be the next little stopping point that you can see on the chart there. Now, going into the daily chart instead of the weekly chart here, we might be able to see a couple other stopping points along the way, but we are still extremely bearish here. And we had a negative divergence that kind of kicked it all off to warn us of this turn to the downside. I mentioned that many, many weeks ago in previous videos. As you can see, higher high in price, lower high on the indicator, not a good thing ever. And then when you make another high afterwards that's below 40 or 60, excuse me, then you're in bearish territory. So as of right now, what we're looking at is we've got plenty of overhead supply nearby on the daily time frame. Even as far as, let's try to see if this was actually a good zone, but it's not. It doesn't qualify. So that's our nearest supply zone, 54.36. However, I don't think we have any nearby demand to hold us up, and that's going to be a problem. So it's wrong button here. Let's go. Wrong one. There we go. Horizontal line I wanted. So I'm going to go back a little bit in time here and just see where we might be stopping as we're continuing to slide in price. Nearest area of demand that I'm seeing is 32,000 right here. Now we could be running into a little bit of a demand zone currently. And let me mark that off. We got kind of a drop base rally right here at 39,950. And then again, the next one at 32,607. Might as well keep looking to see just in case before we get down to that weekly zone. And we got another one down here at about 23,000. I've been watching that for many years now. Anyway, getting to where we are currently, you can see as we're coming into this demand zone, we've got lots of bearish momentum. So if we make another thrust into that demand zone, what you want to see is a positive divergence. That would mean that the indicator doesn't make as low of a move here. What do we have? Right around 29 or so. So if we stay above 29 on the RSI as we move back down into the demand, that positive divergence would signal a bounce up to that 50,000 area of supply. So we'll just have to wait and see if that actually happens or if the trend continues to push the downside. If we don't make any divergence or we go lower on the RSI as we come into the 39,950, then I would expect to move all the way down to 32,607. Dropping down into a 4-hour time frame. Doesn't look much better there for the bulls on the coins. You can see that plenty of opportunities to sell. You got kind of a drop-based drop right there. And we can even argue here is drop a couple basing candles, and that's where we just kind of pinged off of this weekend as we're getting ready to move back down, not getting into bullish territory whatsoever. We had a little bit of weakness of the bearish momentum with a positive divergence here, but that just led to the little push into the 42,815 before it starts moving down again. So keep an eye out, but it looks as though the nearest bouncing point is that just under 40,000 that we saw on the daily. I can even drop down to a 60 minutes, see if there's anything. Nope, can't really change anything here. Still the same area of supply. It's a little tighter as far as the zone if you were shorting cryptos. But again, that 39,950 is the nearby target. We can take a look back to see if we could fine tune this a little bit more. In case you're looking to buy for a possible rebound, it'll be kind of a counter trend play if you try to buy Bitcoin, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. There still may be a little bouncing opportunity there to go long, just short term. You just got to be ready to bail out on this if it starts turning back down again and continues the overall trend. Because as of right now, there's no signal that there's any sort of a trend change coming. But there are demand zones here. So first one, 39,375 to 38,585. And then the second one is just all this down here, 38,231, 37,355. So Starting off this week, we're moving down. That looks to be where we're going to bounce. So look for a possible bounce here, 39,375. Again, keep an eye out for the momentum. Otherwise, it may just break right through. But if we can get a bounce there, it could be a nice buying opportunity, just counter trend up to the 45,931 for the week. Onto Ethereum, and I'll start off again going to the big picture here with the weekly chart. Just need to refresh everything out. And you can see that we're still somewhat bullish here, but we're losing momentum quick. We had the higher highs, but didn't really do that on the momentum. We're still not below 40 yet, but we're getting close. So we could push down to 2,000 pretty easily here. Looking at the daily chart, if we get some bullish activity, it's not going to live long because 37.63 is our first area of supply that'll hold us back down. Another one right here at 40.38. As far as where we're headed, wrong keystroke. Yeah, there it is. So that's when the horizontal line to go back. And we are approaching a demand zone, so we might actually get a bounce here pretty soon. You can see we have drop, base, and a pretty decent rally. So if you're looking for a counter trend long opportunity, it is coming at 29.48 to 27.82. And if we do bounce there, let's see, I would look for another selling opportunity at the supply to push down, and not really seeing anything great as far as a good demand zone. Maybe this would be your next target, 2045. So altogether, kind of what we're seeing here is we likely are going to bounce at the beginning of this week, 2950 area, up to this other 3763 before we continue to go lower down to 2045. And if we want to fine tune this even more on the 4-hour time frame, let's see if there's anything here. And we have a few more stepping stones along the way. The nearest area, no, it's not really that great. Actually, I'll just stick with what I saw on the daily and just leave it there. For XRP, go to the weekly chart again, kind of refresh this down, and still declining like all the cryptos are, pretty much moving the same way as Bitcoin. Everything else is going that way. We are in this weekly area of demand, but lots of weakness. When you have made a lower low, may be able to grind through this down towards 20 cents. That's the next weekly demand zone if we push through this one. So keep an eye out for that if it happens. Going down to the daily time frame, that's actually 31 cents, not 20. On the daily, we have an overhead supply right here to keep an eye out for, and that's going to be 90.59 to 95.42. We rally up. There's kind of a long basing here, but it still could work, perhaps at 82. I don't like it as much, and I'd look for more confirmation first. Meaning I'd wait to see it actually turn around in that area. I think the 90.59 is the better zone. As far as our demand zone and where we might be able to bounce here, we'll go ahead and take a look back. And well, we are coming into, this is our bouncing area right here, but it's not a great demand zone. Even the lower one at $50 or 50 cents is not that great. So could be heading down to that daily demand. That's all I really have. Nothing else on the smaller time frames here. Weekly demand, unfortunately. Let's see, Cardano. Just kind of going through my list here. We'll go to the far end, and I happen to be on the daily chart. I'll start off with the weekly again. Lots of weakness. You know, this 37, 38 cent area might be a little bit of a bouncing point if we do break down from where we are right now. However, immediately what I'm seeing is a possible bounce coming. And I say that because you've got a positive divergence. Prices were making lower lows, but the indicator is making the same or slightly higher lows. That indicates usually that you'll get a bounce coming pretty soon. So I don't see us dropping straight down. Cardano's got a little bit of strength possibly creeping in. Yep. So going down to the daily time frame, there's no real zones nearby. It doesn't really look very good for trading opportunities, unfortunately. Let's see if there's anywhere for a buying opportunity if we are going to bounce here. And not really seeing it, unfortunately. So it's not lending itself to really good technical analysis that we do see on some of the other platforms or other coins. But Cardano is suggesting there should be a bit of a bounce coming pretty soon. And I don't know if that's a legitimate price move, if that's just a weird wick that we got right there, but this is your demand if that wick doesn't exist, is at 45 cents. But as far as supply goes, really nothing nearby that looks good, so I'm just going to skip that and go to Solana. And Solana, again, starting big picture weekly, still weak, still possibly pushing down, but we'll see if it continues. We had this impulse correction And you can see we stalled out at the Fibonacci extension. The next one's all the way down here at 92.83, and then possibly even lower. So going into the daily time frame, Solana definitely bearish, as you can see right here. Again, if I go into some of these extensions and see what our projections are like, I think we just duplicated the previous impulse. Nope, 127.2 times. I thought that was a duplicate, but it wasn't. It was a little bit longer. So yeah, we're bouncing at the Fibonacci extensions. The next one would be 119.32. But let's take a look to see where there's physical demand that's always going to be stronger than these projections. And by the way, we do have a supply zone. If we do bounce, we're likely to see a turn to the downside again, the 166 to 173, if we happen to rally up that high. So we're sitting in demand here as well. That's what works best. Zones that line up with the fibs rather than just the fibs by themselves. And then if we continue to move to the downside here, it looks as though we've got another demand, another target demand. These are all possible bouncing points for Solana. So if you're looking for a rally opportunity to buy, then you may end up getting it pretty soon. We'll just have to wait and see. Trend isn't nearly as weak as it was in the other markets. And this isn't really lining up for anything here, so I'll remove that. But we're getting a small bounce now. Again, I'm not expecting a lot out of it. If anything, we move up to the 166 before dropping down to 110. And just keep an eye out as we come down to those levels. If we get some sort of divergence once again at one of these three levels below that are untested, 74, 97, or 110, that's where you're likely to get a bounce again. Let's see, I can go over to XRP. And again, bigger picture here on the weekly chart. There's a weekly demand zone that's already been tested, and we're creeping down towards that right now, but not seeing any kind of strength at all. This looks very, very weak, even on the smaller time frame. Still looking pretty weak. And the daily doesn't have anything great as far as zones, maybe 91. That's about it there. And so going back here a little bit in history to see what's going on. And yeah, it's not really a great zone. I would say maybe rally, base, base, and then the rally up right there at about 62 down to 59. That's going to be your next bouncing point for XRP. Let's go to the far right edge. There we are. Yep. So still sliding down. We're going to continue sliding down until that level. If you're looking for any kind of another opportunity, maybe to get short, we can look at the 4 hour, but there's another supply drop, basing, and drop right here. I don't even know if we're going to get there because we already kind of played off of this zone that was even a little bit lower, 77 on the 4 hour. So again, going back on the horizontal line there to see if there's anything a little bit closer as far as demand goes either, or as well, excuse me. And that's already been tested. Nothing great. So it looks like we got some room to go for a while here. Again, down to that daily demand, which I can't even seem to find. Hang on, let me bring it up. There we go. Yeah, that's about it. All the way down to the 62 area. The only thing I might have in the way on the way down is rally base rally right there, 64.92. So we're getting almost all the way down to that daily area demand. But the 4 hour demand is a little bit higher, 64.92. So there may be another selling opportunity from 77 down to 64 as we continue to our slide. Again, well, we've already tested that one, so I don't know if I'd take it a second time, but look for new opportunities along the way. Polkadot, since I have it here, I can look at that one too. Go out to the weekly chart. And the weekly chart looks like a giant head and shoulders about to crash. You can see that we've got left shoulder, head, and there's your right shoulder just formed. We're getting ready to break right now. If that's the case, we're going down to these new weekly lows around 1372 pretty easily. We'll just have to wait and see. There is another demand, though, a little bit higher than this, so that might hold up a little bit better than the patterns do. Although that first level demand has been tested, as you can see, pretty close to that on 2168. Going down to the daily time frame, definitely in a downtrend. Lower highs, lower lows. Not looking like it wants to stop yet. We're coming into this one weekly demand, but we should be able to power through that down to the $14, it looks almost like. There's a little bit of buying pressure comes in as far as a buying opportunity, or at least a target if you're going short on some of these securities, if you can. Let's see. That's not even a great zone. So let's leave the weekly what the way it was, and that's your first target right here, 1475. We moved down. So if you're looking for a bouncing opportunity, I don't think it's going to happen at the upper weekly demand. I think that this is going to continue to slide. And like I said, on the daily chart, we kind of rallied up into this and slid down. And it looks like we're going to 1475 on the way down. Anything that we hit on the way for demand might just be small bumps back up, but not really likely to hold price to at least to change trend. I think we're going to continue to slide here in Polkadot. So continuing on, let me just bring this back again and just see if there's any speed bumps. Like I said, if you're trying to buy Polkadot, you're just going to be doing some small counter trend scalping along the way, buying on these little demand zones and getting out as soon as you see signs of weakness as it pulls back down, because the trend isn't changing. It looks like the trend's going to stay to the downside for quite some time. And here's your next one. There. And oops, missed it. There we go. There. That may be a retest of a prior area. Yep, that is. This is not fresh. That's a retest of this area of demand already. So not likely to work a second time because it went deep into the zone. It could have a little bit of pressure left, but not much. Then ultimately, let's keep bouncing a little bit on our way down to ultimately get to the 1475. I think that's where the trend will change. So like I said, if you're trying to buy Polkadot, the only thing you're going to be doing is buying for little pullbacks like you're seeing here. You get that bump up, pullback, bump up, pullback, bump up, pullback down, and then another bump up at each of these levels. But be very careful trying to trade against the overall trend. Anyway, that's what I got on the crypto side. If you got any questions, let me know. And if you like the video, make sure you hit subscribe and like to let me know. So that way I'll see you again next week.